There's a few questions you should ask yourself when you're going to implement usage-based pricing. Can we track the usage? It's simple, right? But often companies realize that as soon as the customers are live. Can we track it? Can we actually see how much people they ran over with the car in Grand Theft Auto 6? I don't know. Can we actually track the usage? How do we migrate our existing customers, and how and when do we communicate that? Another thing, and that is probably the heavier one, maybe. Do our customers link the usage to value? So do they believe that as soon as I start to pay for something, that I get value out of it? Yeah, to give Netflix a point, I think I would get value out of my movie if it's a good movie. But what if it's a bad movie? That's less. I think you're more sure in the actual SaaS world. And what will be the impact on revenue, both long and short term? Because I think for most companies, it will be the case that the short-term impact is quite big on the negative side, because suddenly you take part of your revenue that would have come in as soon as the customer would have signed the paperwork, and you're kind of pushing that over the year to kind of trickle in. But after that year, it should be a bit higher if you did the pricing right. So that is something to think about. Like, it's not a bad thing, and it's fine. Consider it an investment that it's going to be a bit tricky in the short term, but make sure you are aware of it. Make sure you're aware of what that will do to your cash flow, that you don't hire like 5 senior staff at that same time, because it's probably not smart to do that. Also, what is our competition doing? How are they pricing? And can we be slightly better by making a nuance? Because I mean, there's a lot of things like purchase to pay softwares are a lot of times priced the same way. Expense management software are priced the same way. Finance system. There's a lot of things that have some sort of overlap or look the same, because it's just market pricing and that's how the world is. But can we be slightly better by just making a small nuance in our pricing? Can we do something that other people haven't thought about? Always make sure that you at least, this should be on like the go-to-market thing for your pricing discussions, and like somebody needs to ask this question in the meeting and take a 30-minute silence and just think about that. It can be so important. Last but certainly not least, how do we handle commission? Because sales is usually rewarded on some kind of intake. Like, you sign a deal that is valued at X, but then suddenly usage is not so much committed anymore, because it depends on how they use it. So have the conversation before, until some sales shows it's like, look at me, I have this beautiful signed quote. How am I getting paid? And then thinking about that is going to be a lot more tricky. So make sure you have answered that question in advance. We see many kind of scenarios again. So also reach out to us for advice if you feel that is needed. And last, but we wouldn't be Younium if we didn't bring this up, right? Can our back office also facilitate the actual invoicing processes of these? So if we can track the usage data, can we find a way that it also ends up on the actual invoice, along with the setup fee that we put there, along with the recurring fee that we put on there, any consulting or anything extra that needed to be on there? Can this usage just magically appear on that same invoice? That also would be super nice, because then you save a lot of hassle. And that is also something that is often considered to be a second step, and it's easier to have that done from the beginning.